So let's see if they're going to prioritize the Lyra. Oh, wow, they're going to actually go straight to the land. So that's will give TSM the Grace or Lyra.
Yeah, and we've seen TSM play Lyra countless times throughout the season. Kind of unsurprising at this point to see the Lance prioritized for G2, since it's been, honestly, in the last few weeks of competitive play, this Lance pick for G2 has been an absolute crutch for them. It's been something that they've relied on time and time again.
Yeah, it's been very strong for them, but will it be strong enough is going to be the question. It's going to heavily rely on what they are able to get to round out their composition and what they are going to be up against with Team Solo Mid. Obviously, that Grace is still an option. Even though they have the Lyra, we could see them pick up that Grace again. We know they're not going to be afraid to run it in the jungle if need be.
We'll see whether that's something they choose to go for here. And G2 taking a long time on this second ban because, you know, trying to deny this next pick is very important. Vox taken off the board. What do you make of that, Sweetjo?
Yeah, because Vox is really good into Lance. He can dance around the Lance and just stack. And they're going to take Kestrel here. This is a pretty meta composition. Lyra Kestrel is extremely strong, can siege the lane like crazy. So G2 will definitely pick up the Celeste here. And then we'll probably go with a weapon carrier such as Black Feather or something would make sense. And TSM will probably end with either a Samuel, most likely, because Samuel Lyra is just so strong in the jungle. And then they're going to just basically play the early game against G2 with the Lyra.
See, I mean, that Kestrel Lyra Samuel composition was something that we started to see during the regular season for a little while. We'll see whether TSM decides to bring that one out. What do we expect G2 to finish this one off with? I mean, is this Lance going to be a captain? Is he going to be going into the jungle? What's the expectation?
I think you expect it to be in the jungle, just because that has been such a strong pick for Dark Potato specifically. They have the ability to put it in the captain role, but I feel like their best bet is with it in the jungle.
Yeah, Grace is open, so they could play Grace here, and that's a comp they played yesterday, and the one that TSM just played against them. And now TSM needs to pick something that would counter that. Maybe Sky if they want, because Sky just completely, beats the Grace, but they're going to go with the meta composition, which is Kestrel, Samuel, and Lyra. Very versatile composition that can siege the turret really hard.
Now, my concern is this is a composition TSM just played for themselves, right? They obviously know about this composition. This is not something that has accidentally fallen through draft. Do we think that this is a trap? Do we think that TSM has G2's number and has allowed this composition through on purpose here?
I think Team Solo Mid is a team that, in this matchup, isn't entirely concerned about their opponent's draft. They're more focused on their own. This is a team that has always been more focused on just what they have rather than making sure to counter what their opponents get.
All right, well, we'll see whether that's going to be the case. It's time to jump into game number 2. TSM going up against G2 Esports. Take it away, casters.
Thank you very much, Munchables. And I like this line that we heard from the analyst desk, just as G2 lost, or TSM won. I say G2 lost because the line was you have to be a playmaker. You cannot be a play waiter. I want to see that from G2. I want to see proactiveness in the early game.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think that the composition they had some issues just intrinsically with actually making that pressure happen early on. But at the same time, this is a different composition, right? Like, they definitely have the ability to pace set with Grace and Lance in the jungle.
And they will have to be doing that against TSM throughout the entire game because, like mentioned before, as soon as you slip up once, as soon as you give TSM any traction in a game, they will take everything away from you. They're going to steal your lead, steal your goals, steal your ice, and your Vein Crystal.
All right, well, off the bat, Team Solo Mid are definitely putting on some pressure, stealing away that front treant immediately, and you can see Dark Potato having to back up a little bit there as well. Keanu did try and make his own play. I didn't quite catch if he picked up the camp or not. I see no minion score, actually, so probably not. All right, so good early plays out of Team Solo Mid. We talked about Grace and Lance in the early game. Definitely worth touching on the fact that Samuel and Lyra are also a very solid combination of heroes in the jungle early into the game. They have a lot of sustain. They have a lot of damage. They also have a decent amount of utility. I mean, Lyra's perk itself is very strong, as well as a bulwark. So if an early fight happens and a bulwark goes down and it blocks an impale, these are the kinds of things that can allow for Team Solo Mid to have the pressure that we want G2 to have early on. We'll have to see what happens. Hundor as well in the lane. this is a bit of a different Celeste matchup. You know, you're worrying about a Kestrel who can definitely trade back and forth, definitely get some good poke down, and also definitely rotate. But Hondor's the one doing that right now.
Keanu Nako is rooted, which means Dark Potato is just kind of sat here waiting, but here comes Keanu. Vonsi in a bit of trouble. That's a great start. That's Vonsi dead. And G2 are going to look for best chuck as well. An Impale lands. He's doing the damage, but it's a double kill coming through for Hondor. And that's the playmaking start that G2 needed.
It absolutely is, but Team Solo Mid, it all falls apart. I like them trying to be aggressive. They've got a lot of ability to bail on bad situations just with the speed boost from Imperial Sigil. But at the same time, if you get locked up next to a wall, you're gonna die. Dark Potato's gonna be able to capitalize. Vonsi wants to keep going, maybe find something back here, but the Treant actually blocking most of that Drifting Dark's damage.
Look at the speed coming out. He wants Dark Potato, but an Impale gonna come through, and the root comes through as well. EU and NA, but it's not enough to keep them alive. Vonsi finds the kill, and now he's looking to escape and find another. Keanu Nako are gonna run as quick as he can.
Charms.
And he is able to get out, though. Vonsi, ooh, hello, Best Chuck, looking a bit low as is Hondor. They've obviously having a bit of a play fight in the lane as well. TSM instantly trying to turn the aggression over, but Dark Potato will be able to come into his jungle just in time to see all the camps have disappeared.
Man, that was a rough spot to be in for G2 Esports. I was actually checking Vonsi's items as he was chasing, looking for the weapon blade, because those basic attacks were doing so much damage, but didn't even need them. Team Solo Mid, you know, right off the back of a play that didn't go so well for them, were able to bounce back and make something happen. This is, you know, the Team Solo Mid we're used to seeing, and they've actually accrued a slight gold edge off the back of it. Talking about items, though, one thing I want to talk to you about, Dalsy, is what build we might see Hondor going for this game. I don't know if there's the same level of value in the Eve first. I think it's still a good item, but I do think Hondor has options here. You know, if you go for the Eve and you're playing this into the Kestrel, you're still gonna get poked out a little bit. The Eve by itself without CP to back up the healing isn't necessarily gonna out-sustain both a Lyra and the Kestrel poke.
No, certainly doesn't have that damage to quite keep yourself alive. Does give you the energy regen necessary if you want to stick in the lane and just play a bit of a poke war. It's quite interesting, actually. Back in May, I had the opportunity to check out how SEA likes to play their Celeste, and they love their Celeste. It was Eve Harvest, first item every time, because they just recognize that they're going to have any early game playmaking ability. It's going to be fire abilities. Whoa. Best Chuck with a great block, gonna keep himself alive, and gets that heal from FlashX as well to make sure he sustains through. Seems like a bit of a lull in the game so far, as TSM have bounced back after early G2 aggression, and G2 haven't quite been able to find any more of it.
Yeah, I really like the fact that TSM has been applying pressure across the map here. We do have a tension bow picked up for Dark Potato here. So what I'm wondering is whether or not he's going to be able to put it to use. It is kind of hard for him to find a window here, although he's making his way up.
So I saw with the reflex block, and I thought it was Best Chuck. It's actually an early Crucible coming out of FlashX. First item Crucible. And this is another thing that you can do because of the health that Crucible gives you. It means your sigils are going to be healing more. It scales with the health that you have. So by FlashX buying this Crucible early, knowing that the stun lock that comes through will be their demise, like this, the Impale's connecting, and Vonsi going low, FlashX as well. Boy, I wish I had a fountain. The TSM going to be moving away, it seems, safely. G2 just can't quite find the damage.
You know what? You wish you had a fountain if you die there.
Right.
If you don't, okay, it works out,
okay.
right? You know, you've already got Lyra Imperial Sigil. That's as good as a fountain, Galaxy. I don't care what you tell me. Strong stuff out of Team Solomon to get out of that situation, though. They were definitely in a dicey one. I do think that, you know, an argument could be made, you know, even though we made that point in jest, that a fountain would have done about the same for them getting away, because having a Crucible to stop you from getting impaled or rooted and stunned when you're next to a wall like that, I mean, even if you heal, if you can't go anywhere, you're going to go down eventually. So, yeah, it ends up panning out for Team Solo Mid. The question is, you know, if Flash can maybe get a fountain within time for the next skirmish, right? That's really what I'm looking for, because if G2 keeps the pressure on, they do have Fountain up again. They can maybe try and make another play.
Well, the Crucible is up, and look at the damage that Vonsi's going to look to output. Now he's got that Drifting Dark. Keanu very low. Fountain popped by him to survive. Hundor just looking to try and find an angle to get that Helogenesis out. The one shot just slides past Hundor, so he'll be fine. But the Oblivion's going to come out to the sleeve. Oh, Vonsi, no fear, just fine. Under the turret looking for more, but he will get rooted and taken on down. It's a double coming through for G2, as it is also Keanu Nakoa from the grave finding a kill.
All right. That time I wanted a Fountain, Dowsy.
Yeah?
That time, because you know what? The turn's not going to crowd control you, but it will do a heck of a lot of damage, and that's what we saw. It was an overextension, pure and simple, from Team Solo Mid. They did not need to go past that first kill. It was a little bit too far for their own worth here. G2 Esports now have the ability to come back a little bit. I like the fact that Hundor went for this Eve second. You know, we were talking about it a little earlier. The Frostburn does set up your other supports for good crowd control, so it was a great pickup. Now you've got Eve 2 in a lot of these fights where you've already got more sustain. Well, you did have more sustain because you had a Fountain. Now TSM has picked up theirs. That's something which is definitely going to be a good situation for G2. 4 kills to 2, though. The gold is still in favor of Team Solo Mid, so G2 has a lot more work to do. They need to find more windows of opportunity as Team Solo Mid continues to apply pressure in the lane.
Looking for the turnaround, Keanu Nakoa. Can he get that Holy Nova? No, stunned up. Best Chuck gonna stop it. And the Fountain once more used to keep Keanu alive. This time the one shot onto Hundor connects, and Vonsi! Oh my god, is the American sniper coming through with those Malice and Verdicts and takes the turret away with him. That is a gold lead that TSM can take now as they move over to the gold miner. It's 2,000 about to become 3.
That's more like it from Team Solo Mid, Dowsy. With the composition that they have, they can play from a pretty substantial range away from G2 Esports and not really be that afraid of retribution. So the fact that they were able to play from such a distance and actually use things like the snipe to execute someone after they land their poke means that they're playing to their strengths a lot better than they were earlier on. G2 at the same time, though, do need to be decisive in those situations, either to bail and get out of the way and get out of there, heal back up, you know, don't put yourself in a position to get poked, or they need to just put their pedal to the gas and actually go in and try and capitalize on the fact that Team Solo Mid won't necessarily be able to play quite as strongly in close proximity to them unless a good active camo trap's already there.
I'm so concerned by this full metal jacket. The metal jacket, in fact, just for Keanu Nakoa, second item on a captain. It just feels like it might not be the item his team needs to survive. What it says to me is that G2 want to dive on in, and Keanu Nakoa wants to just be able to survive any damage Best Chuck does. But next item for Flash X is going to be the War Treads, and TSM are just going to charge forward and look to try and take out G2.
That bulwark was burned kind of early, Dalsy. This is definitely what we were talking about. You know, G2 wants to go in. Maybe they could off the back of that. Keanu Nakoa is the one soaking up most of this damage as well. It's not onto the key targets just yet by Team Solo Mid. Hundor has taken a little bit, but again, it's not substantial enough, especially if Keanu can just use the ultimate on himself and maybe bait TSM into a dicey position. That's certainly something you can do in the race.
Yeah, he is going very low. Here comes that Malice and Verdict. Hundor taking a lot of damage, but Dark Potato walks on in. Impale onto Best Chuck. Vonsi, though, he's on the back line. Does get knocked up, stunned up, but it's not enough. They trade 1 for 1, but Best Chuck now wants it all. Dark Potato misses the Impale. Keanu goes in, but he may have just gone to his death as Best Chuck snipes him away. And a Flash X goes on in. It's a double and an ace coming through for TSM. Seemingly unstoppable.
Man, slight misplays honestly cost the fight there for G2. Although it was a bit of a dicey setup, they allowed themselves to be funneled into a choke point. Yeah, sure, you want to fight in choke points with Lance, but not necessarily against the splash damage that can come out of Samuel. Hundor now has to try and defend this turret by himself. I think he can, even through these ace buff minions. Chuck, oh, he's trying to commit the one shot to killing the turret. I don't mind that. Didn't quite pan out, though. But again, in that last fight, Hundor actually committed to a Solar Storm onto, I believe it was Best Chuck, when Vonsi was nearly dead, but not quite. And you know, if he just immediately turned, started helioing the back line, and Vonsi dies before he gets off another Malice and Verdict, could be a slightly different situation, but still, well played by Team Solo Mid, good capitalization there. They want more as well. Vonsi's really put the pedal to the metal here.
Yeah, it's just to push G2 back so that they feel threatened, so they do not make an attempt at the turret, as Best Chuck does go back to base to finish a tornado trigger. A contraption coming through as well for Flash X, going to be converting that health into vision for his team. It also means he can clear out any vision Keanu Nakoa has picked up and allow for the flank opportunities for Von C, as well as some opportunities for Best Chuck to go invisible and just alter his position. G2 now have to move away as Von C comes in, but that damage coming out from him, from Hundor, is strong with the clockwork now. He can spam. TSM now looking to turn around, but Dark Potato rolls on in, and every time he does, TSM fearfully walk away. Von C low, heal and a fountain. TSM not mucking around here.
I feel like TSM felt like this would go different when FlashX walked up and used that bright work. It's not going so good. Hundor has not been tagged just until I said that. Caster Curse OP by anything, basically, during that entire trade. That being said, the sustain from Lyre is doing some serious work, and he actually, Flash, has a decent amount of energy regeneration. This isn't going to change anytime soon. The point still stands. G2 does need to just make a fight happen sometimes. They can't actually run a poke war, even though their poke's better.
Right. That's why the contraption is so good. The cooldown, Oblivion, gonna go out, but avoided. Flash X moves in, bright boss, and now the fight is set up. Can he do enough? One shot comes through, Dark Potato takes it, and Best Chuck sitting on just under 50 HP will get some health from his captain, as well as that potion. It's insane. You stack health, and then you get contraption for cooldown, and you just keep them alive. You have effectively a fountain up every couple seconds, and now Best Chuck has the confidence to go in. The stun does nothing. He is currently sitting on 3 kills whilst Von C moves in, trying to find another for himself.
Riddle me this, Dowsey. How do you win a game where your opponents get to go back to Fountain without going back to Fountain?
Poison Shiv is not there for Dark Potato. There's no mortal wounds. A turret goes down, and Keanu Nakoa just can't do enough to keep his base intact. And this is the issue with Dark Potato's signature lance, is that you just can't get any mortal wounds into your team unless you bring it in via a fortress, perhaps, for Keanu Nakoa. But that is just something that we haven't seen from European teams. It's definitely a North American flavor.
All right, we've got a Broken Myth picked up now for Von C. Dowsey. This is going to be doing some serious damage in the next couple of fights. Honestly, his poke has been the lackluster bit of poke on Team Solo Mid's side up until this point. It's mostly been Chuck carrying the weight, but at 3 items, Von C is going to be a different beast. It's going to be much more difficult for G2 Esports. And consider, it was already difficult, and I didn't want to play these fights long. Oh,
Keanu is just so low. That's a fountain, divine intervention, surviving for now, but how long can he do so? Hundor throws out that Solar Storm, but can't find a kill. And now Best Chuck is just gonna start tearing through Dark Potato. He gets sniped away, and Hundor has to try and hold his own, but he can't hit the stun. Von C may go down, he does. Can Hundor keep himself alive? Oh no! Flash X styled all over him, and the ace comes through for TSM.
Oh man, if you go that far out of position, you don't need to play a longer fight there as TSM. That was really rough for Keanu Nakoa. I don't know why he decided to take that path, but it's been punished so hard. Team Solo Mid, they managed to take a turret off the back, they find an ace. Now they can go set up vision 30 seconds ahead of Crack and Dowsey. That's huge as well, because if you have control of the jungle shop, you get to restock on flares, you get to restock on scout traps. Your opponents, they gotta go back home if they wanna do that, because no one's gonna do the picking up for you. So G2 Esports, this is a really rough spot to be in, and it adds more difficulty to the game plan that they need to have, right? Like, they need to set up plays, but they don't have vision, and they've got an objective they have to worry about.
Well, we're going to get a replay of that last fight. Keanu Nakoa just caught so out, and that was when things went wrong for G2.
Yeah, it really was. He was so far out. I mean, Hundor did do an admirable job of getting good damage down, playing just around the edge of the fight to stay alive for quite some time. But Best Chuck's positioning was huge. It's really tough for G2 Esports to deal with the one straggler member of TSM, because they have a lot of abilities that are best used on an area of effect target. Here comes the fight.
Fight coming out, but Best Chuck escapes it. Hundor's on, just taking damage from Von C, gets a heal, Solar Storm, rips on through, but it won't find the kill. That's Keanu once dead. Best Chuck, Dark Potato, sorry, where is he gone? Over the wall. And Hundor, he gets taken down as well. It's a fight on all fronts, and G2 are gonna lose it. Dark Potato finds one for his struggles, and yes, that one kill may be enough to just slow down the Crack and take, but it's not gonna be enough to ensure that TSM don't secure this objective.
I mean, Kiana Nakoa on the Grace does have a lot of movement speed, but I don't think he's going to be up in time to make it back there and try and pick it up. Team Solomon is doing a great job of really being very decisive in these fights. It's not even just the fights that they're initiating. They're being very decisive in their responses to what G2 is doing as well. Flash X, by the way, now has even more cooldown acceleration. It's getting to a pretty ridiculous point. Kiana Nakoa did make it to the Kraken. Has the flare.
Has a flare. He's walk on in. That's the one-shot tanked up. All right, Keanu, what can you do? Oh, Solo Storm! No chance to get it!
Oh.
That's going to be Von C securing the Kraken. Keanu now has to walk away. G2, they're going to move on in, but they can't start a fight with Keanu so low. So now they know it is base defense time once more. This game, G2 have tried to be the aggressive team. Every time they lose a fight, and I get a replay notice in my ear, and G2 said, no, you're not getting a replay because we want to fight again. We want to continue fighting. We want to be proactive. It's just TSM's is just not allowing it every time. Norway, the item for Flash X. This is it or nothing for G2 as they start to try and take this Kraken down, but there's that Norway gauntlet blocked up. And the Crucible used early. There's so many opportunities to find an Oblivion.
Crucible used ahead of that Oblivion. It's a very dicey situation, Dowsing.
Gonna be Dark Potato rolling on forward, but he takes a lot of pain, and Flash X just keeps the team so healthy. You can't do damage. He's just healing them up for 800 apiece. Oh, the Zare comes through. Dark Potato trying to walk away. One shot gonna come through and connects on Keanu, and he's gonna miss his heal onto himself. This should be it. This should be TSM taking game 2. One more chance for G2 to stop this. They need to get on to Best Chuck, but he's just taking down the game so quickly. And that is it. TSM have done it at 2-0 in this series so far, AJ. Looking unbeatable.
They're looking really, really good. It's tough, though, because G2, they have real